Behind every mission, there's a plan. Behind every plan, there's a soldier, training, leading, and getting the job done. This is the Kentucky National Guard's G3 podcast, where we share the stories, lessons, and leadership that keep our Guard always ready, always there.
Welcome, hello. We are back for another episode of the G3P Fixed Bayonets podcast. I am your favorite podcast platoon sergeant, Sergeant B. We're here. First, let's talk about the weather here in Kentucky. We know how it is. We're in Frankfort, Kentucky. Beautiful weather outside. The sun is shining. The grass is tearing everybody's allergies up, but it'll probably snow next week. But as right now, we'll take it. Hope you're doing well. We have an episode today on the Best Warrior competition. So I know we've touched base on some training events and things that we've done, operation environments, and the SPP last episode. We went over it. But today we're going to bring in the Best Warrior competition and what it's about, what our soldiers do to compete. And alongside that, we have the winner for the NCO Best Warrior competition. And without further ado, we have Sergeant Moody from the 149th. Welcome to the podcast, man.
How's it going? Thanks for having me, sir.
Absolutely. So, are you moody?
Not today.
It depends on what you're doing.
Depends, yeah.
Hey, congratulations on winning the NCO. As we see, NCO Best Warrior competition we had in Wendell H. Ford in Greenville. It was 4 or 5 day event, right?
3-day event.
3-day event. Soldiers all across the state competing, and that's the lower enlisted NCO, senior NCO. And man, I know it's a pretty tough event, and you've done it twice now, correct?
I have, sir.
Okay,
yeah.
So we'll go over through the Best Warrior, but let's jump into a little bit of your background. Sergeant Moody, how long you been in the military? How long you been in the uniform?
So I got in 2009, enlisted in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Went to Parris Island, left there, went to California to Camp Pendleton, and was there till 2013. That's had about a 6.5 year break in service, and then in 2019 decided, hey, owned a CrossFit gym, just kind of wanted to, had a few buddies that were in the Guard, and I was like, man, I'll do this.
Yeah.
And so I got in 2019 and ended up, one of my sergeants there at Alpha Company, he was like, man, I could use you on some ADOS orders. So
Didn't know what ADOS was?
Didn't know what that was. It was kind of a new lingo to me, a lot of the Army, lingo, and so he was like, hey man, I could use you on ADOS orders. So got on ADOS orders, was still running my gym, and a couple months into that, Sergeant Sparks was like, he had kind of explained it to me about, I guess you call it guard bumming.
Yeah.
Stayed on ADOS orders for a year and decided, hey, I'm gonna kind of go full time at this and do this guard bum thing, and ended up, selling my gym and just kind of honestly been on orders ever since. Got off orders with, Sergeant Sparks. He's a huge mentor to me. Got on, finished those orders and then got on COVID orders. Mm-hmm. And then right after COVID orders, we moved to Africa. Got back and then ended up going up to Camp Atterbury and was an OCT up there for Operations Group Wolf for about 1.5 years. And then left there, came back to the Infantry Battalion and became the retention NCO there in Barberville.
Right.
Did that for like 6 months, 6 or 7 months, and then had a bunch of guys, say, hey, you need to apply for AGR. We got a couple slots opening up, and it was an E6 at that time, and the AGR job, it was an E5 position, so took a demotion. Took the AGR,
right.
took that, and I was in Brandenburg as a supply sergeant and admin NCO there for about 1 year, and then moved from Brandenburg to Somerset, and that's where I am currently, running the training NCO as the MPC, our new company. Kind of, I've got scouts, snipers, mortars, and then an assault platoon there at the MPC. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
It's crazy. It's weird because, number one, you're the second devil dog I've had on here, so
okay.
I'm catching a trend now.
Okay.
But no, like a lot of people, your experiences as you talk, like I talk to, and a disclaimer, I always put this out. I met Sergeant Moody about 10 minutes ago. Yep. I saw him at the competition, but I was talking. Yep. So and this has been the best thing about this gig for me is meeting the soldiers, but kind of the background history of people coming into the Guard, if they weren't in the Guard initially or whatever. It's like they get that kind of like that first chance is what I kind of look at it as, those ADOS orders.
Right.
And it was the same thing for me. That's how it worked for me. And you kind of see that opportunity. And then when these soldiers kind of get on ADOS, they kind of say, hey, this might be for me, right? You start doing it, you're bouncing around these orders, guard bumming, the term that we've always used, So, and then you kind of get good at different things and like, hey, I kind of enjoy this, and then it leads into another lifetime adventure or something. So, I mean, it's been a couple people, that's myself included, that kind of went that same route of how you came into the AGR program. So, yeah. I mean, that's awesome. So, fit dude, did the CrossFit thing?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I did that, and once I got out of the Marine Corps, I actually moved up to Seattle and was working for a guy, Dan Cirillo, former Navy SEAL, and he passed away a few years ago, but huge mentor to me, and I worked for him for a couple years there in Seattle, running his CrossFit gym, and I was like, dude, I'm out of here. I'm gonna move back to Kentucky, be close to family, and kind of go my own way, and he supported that, just kind of, but I enjoyed it, but like I said, I kind of missed that brotherhood, and that was one reason that kind of led me to get back in,
right.
And didn't really think at the time that I'd want to go back full time, but I always kind of joke and say, it's kind of like the best kept secret in the Guard is ADOS or AGR.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And you're probably like me. You encourage it with your younger soldiers
Absolutely.
and stuff. You get these high-speed kids, and it's like, hey, man, what are you doing in life? This position's opened. And I've seen that work as many times, too. As you talk to these soldiers that you're mentoring, and it's like, man, you need to apply for this, or just keep applying, right? Because it's something that it takes care of you. It's a career path. It's, I enjoy it. I definitely enjoy being in the uniform. It's like you said, that brotherhood and stuff to it. So and meeting people. So I do enjoy that part of it. But have you always been with the 149th since you've been in the Guard?
I have. I took a position at the RTI at Wiffertech for about 10 minutes, and then an E6 position out there, and then ended up coming back to the Infantry Battalion.
Yeah.
About 10 minutes later, I guess. So that was.
And just kind of came into it then.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Have you noticed anything as far as what was you doing in the Marines? Was you?
I was a Stinger missile gunner.
Okay,
Yep.
that sounds badass.
It was fun. It was a good experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
So did you notice the difference in training though once you got into the Guard? From I know active duty, I mean you're doing it 24/7, 365, but as an M-Day soldier, that those training events, is it?
I think in the Guard, everyone that's in the Guard that has those IDT weekends, they know that we're expected to put a lot into a couple of days.
Right.
Where on the active duty side, you're doing that every day, so it doesn't feel like you're overwhelmed with that training. Just because you're doing it every day, you're not expected to complete all these tasks in 3 days.
Right.
So that first weekend of, hey, we're going to get in X, Y, and Z, where on the active duty side, it might take you, a week in the field to knock that out,
right.
and they're
right.
expecting it in 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's just that was kind of a something to kind of open my eyes of like, hey, like this, when you come to drill, they expect you to, it's not. You always hear people saying, hey, just sitting on my phone, leaned up against the wall in the drill hall, and it's,
right.
And it might be like that some places, but I know at the Infantry Battalion, it's far from that.
I think that's something we always talk about too, as far as that's what makes it unique, right? I mean, civilian soldiers, it's amazing what these soldiers do.
Yep.
They're, like I said, we've covered this before. They're plumbers, doctors, nurses, all walks of life, and they show up that once a month, and it's like, hey, we got to perform, but there's a million tasks to get done. There's training events, your Army Warrior tasks you need to do.
Right.
We got to stay proficient. We got to be ready to win the nation's war. So it is. They come in, and you hear about that, and it's like, no, we got to get after it. And it is amazing watching those soldiers come in. I mean, they're coming in off 60-hour work weeks,
right.
And they're putting that uniform on. They're showing up, and it's like, hey, let's get this stuff done, and putting them to work and getting the task done. To me, it's amazing. I think that's what makes the Guard unique. So. And you talk to active duty, and that's exactly kind of what you said.
Yep.
I mean, you go into the field and to get that one objective done, it might be a week time frame. I mean, we're setting you for 1 day. So, but we'll. I don't know. I think that's the amazing part of it. So, but before we go any further, I'd like to talk about the 149th, kind of how y'all train, some things y'all done over the last couple years, what's changing for you guys, and TTPs and stuff that y'all use to train with, and some certain things. Because I came from the FA community, so I like meeting people with these different branches, and so and MOSs. So we'll talk about that. But let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll jump into it.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the G3 podcast, Fix Bayonets. Today's episode, I'm going to look at this paper and actually ain't nothing on there about this, but let's give a shout out to our sponsors. We know being in the military what's important, and that's the lethality. You got to shoot, move, communicate, but to move, we got to give a big thank you to the Big Green Sock. We all know these big packs that you get from, this is kind of used, I get it, that's one of my old pair, but they go all the way up to your hip, they protect you, for warmth. It's like a big stocking, really. But I'm not a podiatrist, but we all know that the socks are where it's at. So please go to your supply sergeants and get you multiple packs of the Big Green Socks. I think you can probably wear these to church. I mean, maybe. Depends on what you wear it with. Is that right, Sergeant Moody?
Right.
That looks good, don't it? It feels soft. Kind of like that sleeping bag we advertised last time. So the Big Green Sock, thank you. We give a big shout out to you. Sergeant Moody, welcome back, baby. Here we go. So we covered what, kind of your history in the military, and pushing forward of, where we're going to go with the best warrior coming up for the regionals, and what we were doing with the 149th. So what I'd like to talk about now is, what have y'all been doing with the 149th? What's some training events that's, been a big beneficial thing for these soldiers that's training, to win the nation's wars, or the next state of emergency, what we need to do. But what's some of the things that the 149th has done, and what we talk about here is, even, have y'all had to change anything to SOPs and TTPs that y'all have done? Y'all figured out, hey, this works better doing these training events, and they kind of take. So anything on that?
Yeah, we've actually in the past, this past FY, had a whole lot of changes, to be honest. Kind of changed it up to where we not disbanded our Delta company, but basically took our Delta company and made it an MPC, multi-purpose company.
Right.
So now there, instead of having the scouts, snipers, and mortars at the detachment in HHC, now we're with that MPC. So it's got scouts, snipers, mortars, and then an assault platoon. Assault platoon's still doing their kind of Delta company, trucks and tows and things like that, heavy guns. And then as far as our line units go, our line companies, the past several months, still making sure on IDT weekends we're hitting those Army Warrior tasks, M4, M17 quals, any kind of machine gun quals that we need to knock out. And then also incorporating the new ISVs into our training, making sure that everyone's kind of spun up on those, getting qualified to drive those as we work into JRTC and get ready for that.
And those are infantry squad vehicles,
correct.
Right? So that was like one of my first fieldings once I got up here.
Okay.
Very cool looking.
Absolutely.
But, it looks like they would definitely be beneficial. Yep. But that was the thing, I think, with Colonel Monahan, the battalion commander, he was like, hey, we got to get this training going on these things.
Right.
And they're slick looking. So
they're getting the opportunity to knock that out every time. So with that being said, we've drilled at Fort Knox last several months, just being able to get out there and just a lot more area to train and whatnot than kind of going to your home station or Disney Training Center.
What is Fort Knox? Which one do you usually use a lot in the past? Before was it always Knox, or did y'all use different training locations?
It depended. There was one year we used Disney Training Center there in Barville. We used that a lot.
Yeah.
Now you've still got the Bravo company that's there in Brandonburg, their detachment, and then main body. In Hopkinsville, they would come to Fort Knox just because it was closer.
Right.
But
right.
The majority of the units would kind of use an area around their home station to be able to train.
Yeah.
Usually Alpha Company out of Harlan and Middlesboro, they would come to Barville to Disney, and then Somerset guys, we would go there, and then as well as HHC there in Barville, they would just go over to Disney. And,
right.
Charlie Company, I can't think of the name of their training area there in Ravenna, but fairly close to Ravenna, they would utilize that training area a little bit. So like I said, we've used Fort Knox a lot this year. Kind of
A lot of ranges.
a lot of ranges.
Yeah.
We've have qual, whether it's M4, M17, 249, or 240. Our assault platoon, they've knocked out their gunnery for their toes and whatnot out on Llano Range. Previous 2 months. Our mortars, they've knocked out the Mortep, getting qualified for that. That way they can be able to shoot during the live fire at JRTC. That's kind of
Right.
one of the big things that Colonel Monahan wants us to have, that that availability to be able to utilize our mortars while we're down there. So.
Right.
But yeah, that's
A lot of that training, let's relate this to, I guess, to the Best Warrior, since what we're talking about. As you went into the training this year, once you knew you were kind of competing for Best Warrior, was there anything in particular that you had to look at each time you were doing a training event at drill that you were like, hey, I got to utilize this time to kind of hone the skills here to win this competition? And because you go into Best Warrior, like we tell everybody, you don't really know all the events, right?
Right.
You get it when you get there.
Yep.
So it's like it can be physical or mental.
Correct.
Either side. So.
And that's I think one thing that Colonel Monahan has put into place that probably Colonel Penn, I know he had the same thing, and then definitely Colonel Simpson. It was shoot, move, and communicate.
Mm-hmm.
It was all but since they've left the battalion, there hasn't been a huge focus on, hey, I want guys to move with a ruck on their back every drill. So that's something that we've, in the scouts and snipers, that's something that we do every drill anyway. But as far as across the infantry battalion, whether it's HHC, the medics, or it's your S1 or whatever, they've all got rucks on their back at one point during the drill weekend.
Yeah.
And Colonel Monahan out there doing the same thing. He's kind of leading from the front, him and Sergeant Major Lewis, and so that's kind of one thing that obviously at the Best Warrior you're gonna knock out some sort of ruck march. I know in the past they've had some events to where they might move from event to event with a ruck on their back,
right,
or everything they've got. So I kind of knew that would be an event. Didn't really know the distance, but so I always, made sure that, I was wearing my ruck anytime I could, and then even on a daily basis or a weekly basis, I would get a ruck in. And then also, you've got your different Army Warrior tasks, whether it's like doing your EIB events, assemble and disassemble a weapon system, so
Yeah.
knocking those out when I got a chance, just kind of keeping those skills honed, and then also like working with the mortars or doing like call for fire. That's usually one of the events there.
Right.
So just kind of practicing and just keeping those skills kind of honed in.
Yeah. Mortars 11 Charlie, correct?
11 Charlie.
MOS?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
What is your MOS?
11 Bravo.
You're 11 Bravo? Okay.
Yep.
So that's,
Yep.
I always wanted to go with the mortars and check that out.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah.
sweet. You always see like the sexy videos of it, obviously.
Yeah, they have a good time.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got a pretty good mortar section.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in Colonel Monahan's ear. I'm like, next time I go out there and shoot it, I'm going out there. I want to
Okay.
see it, man. That sounds awesome.
I would say they'd be glad to have you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Might let you throw one,
Yeah, they might. They made him. I don't know about this. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was talking about the shoot because we built some radars too. So it was like they had to kind of make sure the radars were going to work and do when we did the fielding. So they went out there and observed, mortar rounds.
Gotcha.
And I was like, God, of course I'd missed the one day that they'd be
Yeah.
doing that. So, but yeah. But then I like the fact that you brought up what they made everybody, the S1, because you think 149th, I'm always like infantry. They're infantry guys, right?
Yep.
It's all the infantry Joes. They're doing their thing. But it's like you got a maintenance support. They're there. So you got these maintenance MOSs. You got S1 MOSs and all those different ones. But you got to take care of everybody, right? You got to
Right.
all train the same way. You all, to win that battle, everybody got to be on the same page, no matter what your MOS is. And so that's very cool. They incorporated that. That's cool leadership skill there to make sure every Joe is doing what everybody's doing.
Yep.
That way, if you have to perform, that's what we tell everybody when you show
That's right.
up. It might be your number that day, so be ready to go.
Stay ready. Don't have to get ready.
That's
know?
right. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. We tried to do another grit. Ah, damn it. Sergeant Major Starr's gonna get me. Grit turns to growth. It's pretty catchy.
I like it.
You like that? Grit turn, or maybe I said it backwards. Grit turns to grit. Grit turns to grow. That makes
Okay.
more sense. We'll go with that one. Grit turns to grow.
Okay.
Put
I
that
like it.
put that in there.
I like it.
All right. So yeah. So the training aspect. What about deployments? Prior deployments and stuff like that. Is things you've noticed that's changed coming back from deployments, where we're at now, as far as where all the wars that are going on and stuff we're seeing now. And
I know, our last MOB, some of the battalion went to Kosovo. Not really familiar what they did there. But we did a lot of Sec 4 stuff and base defense there in Djibouti in Africa, and we worked with some drone stuff, incorporating that in before we left.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a whole lot of that kind of thing a few years ago. But now it's in the past 3 months, it seems like every week I'm sending one of my guys to a UAS course, or something to get spun up on on that.
And is that not crazy? 20 years ago, you're not even really thinking about that so much as far as like the UAS stuff.
Right.
And look where we're at now.
Yep.
Like, this is where we're at. This is the new warfighting machine here. Is this simple drone and what it can do and the damages and how do we protect ourselves against it, right? So it's that counter UAS and stuff. So
yeah, so that's kind of the main thing that I think going forward, if there's any MOBs or whatnot in the future, I think that's going forward, that's one thing you're going to have have a lot of guys spun up on and utilize are those drones and the counter UAS courses and things like that, because like you said, that's where this war is going.
Right.
And you look at Ukraine or look at what's going on in Iran right now. It's that's basically
typical.
That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, the training's ever evolving. Everything we're doing, and you start seeing it with whatever the equipment we're getting, and we've had episodes where we even talked about you got to sometimes use the equipment you got, and it ain't that we can complain about it. It's like you got to make it work, survivability and stuff like that. But another big thing is making sure you're training, and if you're in that squad leader row or whatever, is make sure your Joes are tracking and everybody's on the same sheet of music. They're lethal with their weapon. They're good at comms, and some of those small things they come in big. That hip pocket training, everybody used to call it and think it was just covering white space. It's not covering white space. This is how we survive. This is how we operate. And sometimes it's just getting that radio out or getting that weapon system out and going over stuff. So, and I'm sure that's kind of the same with the 149th and the big rocks and the small rocks. So,
correct.
But yeah, and going in, you get some of these high speed guys that want to compete, or girls. I'm sorry. Yeah, you got these high speed soldiers. Correct. And we put on competitions, and then you kind of see those skills being shown. And I think that's a good thing too to see, is you kind of see where everybody's been training at and what they've been doing. So that's very cool. So let's do this. We'll go to another break, but when we come back, we're going to jump into the best warrior competition. Okay. We're going to kind of cover it. I want what's coming up for you for the regionals and some things that you went through in that week we did the best warrior competition down in Greenville. Okay. And we'll hit on events. We'll hit on the stuff that sucked, that kind of pushed you to your limit, and the things that maybe even your favorite thing, even if it did suck, that it was like, hey, we got through it. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back. Welcome back to the G3P. I'm here with Sergeant Moody. He was the Best Warrior Competition NCO winner for the 2026, I don't want to say games, I don't even know how to say it. It's just the competition, the Best Warrior Competition. We've talked about, a little bit of his background. Got to meet the soldier, a little bit of the spotlight, and then what he's been doing with the 149th, where he's at right now, and what their training plans have been, and some of the training they have done, and getting ready for future, operations. And then, so now we're just going to kind of reel it home with the Best Warrior Competition for those who, what I've learned on this podcast is some of the subjects we cover. Some of these soldiers don't really know some of this stuff. So, gotcha. Best Warrior Competition. It's a physical, mental kind of stressor. Right. It can push you to your limits on certain aspects. It could kind of really kind of humble you on certain aspects. Correct. If you don't know, right? So you come into this competition really not knowing what to expect. Yep. Besides, hey, it can be anything military, yep. Right? So we had it in Wiffertech, or Wendell H. Ford, the Regional Training Center in Greenville. You said it was 3 days.
3 days.
I can't even remember. 3-day event. So let's kind of jump into that. So second time competing in this, right?
It is.
Was there anything different that kind of caught you off guard, or was it kind of some of the similar things that y'all did before?
There were a lot of similar events. I think last year it was a 4-day event. I think so.
Right.
So we had a few more events throughout that 4 days. We had some medical lanes and did some EIB tasks and things that we didn't do this time.
But you go in anticipating that.
But you go in really not knowing what the events are going to be.
Right.
I'm sure somewhere they had it planned out, and I actually think that it was scheduled for like November.
Yeah, right, right.
The government shut down.
That's
that kind of
that's a
thing.
good point.
Yep.
We've talked about before on the podcast. A lot of your training, even with the guard, we see. I mean, it ain't just necessarily what some of these things that pop up.
Yep.
The kind of those speed bumps, I guess.
Correct.
Big one is the shutdown.
Yep.
We keep having the government shutdown, and it affects our funding, it affects our training events, and so you're right. We were supposed to have it later on in the year when this one was pushed to April,
yep.
right? So
Yep.
okay.
So I think with that, they kind of pulled a few events and just kind of focused on, hey, we're going to knock out, how many ever events it was total.
Right.
Kind of some of the important events that that stand out, So, but yeah, it's 3-day event. Anywhere from the AFT to a ruck or to an appearance board, at M4 qual, M17 qual. So
Yeah. Did y'all have to do anything at your battalion? Like, was y'all doing anything throughout the year that was kind of like, hey, this is how we're going to pick our people?
So
or is it
last year we did an actual like in-person competition.
Right.
And then this year it was basically like a paperboard. You would each company kind of sent their NCO and soldier up, and then it was just decided, I guess, at the higher level that hey, this will be our NCO, this will be our soldier, and went from there. And so we had one soldier, and I think he's a lineman on the civilian side, I think,
Okay.
and kind of was some busy with some work, so had to do a replacement there, and
yeah. And that's the stuff that happens. That's the civilian
right.
soldier side, right? Yeah.
But yeah, that's still not, like I said, not necessarily a in-person kind of competition, but just like a paperboard.
Yeah.
So
Stuff throughout the year.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the consensus of, because that's what we did at the 1st Battalion and the 623rd for the FA. We typically was centered around events throughout the year, and then we'd have a kind of internal one during AT where you could
Yep.
kind of put some stuff on, and then
Right.
you run them through that and kind of pick your best. And that's a thing I think that some people even look at. It's like anything else. We got all these tasks. We talked about it earlier. We got all these tasks we got to get done, right?
Yep.
We got to get all this stuff done and all this, and then it's like, are we just picking people just to fill the slot or whatever? But I mean, it's an honor to do it. I mean, it really is. They're saying, hey, this is our best, right?
Yep.
For this year, this is the best person. We're going to put them through the ringer, and we want them to compete. And then you show up for the state one, and here we go, right?
Right.
So, I want to put that out to everybody out there that do great throughout the year. Be pushing yourself, because you could end up in this position, right?
Right.
So,
Yep.
so you show up, I guess, like everybody else, is day one, or we call it day zero, I guess. But you're doing your check-ins, you get our briefs, and then first event just pops right up, right? It's like,
Right.
hey,
It's
we're
like,
gonna go
I
right
think
into it.
there was maybe 30 minutes or something, they kind of briefed us, hey, this is, this is what it is expected this weekend. This is, the barracks you're staying in and whatnot. And then there, it was basically, hey, you got till noon, or I think it was noon or 1300. They were like, meet us down at the track, and we're going to go right into AFT.
Right.
So, I'm kind of an older guy. I'm just turned 39, so like, they decided that they were going to do the PT scale on like the 18 to 24.
love it?
So
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah. See how this is going to go. Yeah.
So, it wasn't much difference.
Right, right.
But, I was just kind of laughing about that.
Well, it's those minor adjustments, right?
Yep.
To kind of try to somewhat level
Right.
the field. It's like you don't think about that part of it. Right.
And that's, for my age, I can usually max the run out pretty easily, I guess, and
Yeah.
but I had to knock about 40 seconds off to be able to, to do that for the young guys.
Right. Well, does that put any kind of stress in your head going into it to win? You're just like, I usually get that max, but now if I don't, is this going to affect me right off the rip? So
a little bit. I think I kind of thought about it for a second, but then once you get through, the deadlift and start moving into the events, it's like looking around and
kind of sizing the field up, right?
Right, and then it's like, hey, just kind of that mentality of other soldiers around you, and you've got state sergeant majors out there, you've got 10 sergeant majors and these people there, so it's like all right, man, I gotta kind of lock in and
right.
and having those soldiers there, that's going to make you push, or it should.
Right.
Should,
yeah.
Take a little bit of pride in it and push this. So.
And that was a thing that I did notice, because it's my first time actually being down there to kind of, the G3's helping kind of work it and make sure all the stuff's happening and the logistics side of it. So, but like a couple of times just being around, going into the barracks, say, hey, this is the time, hit time for the next thing or whatever, seeing by the like day 2, it seems like everybody's jiving almost.
Right.
It's like a platoon's being built.
Yep.
So it's like, that's the crazy thing. You're like, all these guys are competing, and then it's like, but they're in there having a good time.
Yep.
Hey, this sucked. They look like they've been beat down, but they're in there laughing and smoking and joking and getting ready for the next event. So,
and that's, I think at the end of the day, it was a competition, but it was also, hey, some camaraderie for sure.
Right.
Building those relationships up with some of the other soldiers, and it was a good time.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing about it. I think I heard, especially some of the junior enlisted that were competing, that some of the events are just like, I have no clue what this is, right?
Right.
I've been in 3 years. I haven't done any, because it can come from any kind of background, whether it be an infantry tactic or, FA or an MP, So you do these events, and some of them, they went in there and was like, I've never even seen that.
Yep.
But I gave it my best shot. I would just laugh hearing them because they were stressing about it. But like I walked in there, and one thing was call for fire. I think that was one of the biggest things that I heard. It's like, I've never done that before. Right?
That's, we only had one station for the call for fire, so it was taking forever, forever to knock out, and so we were all just kind of sitting in the hallway, and it was kind of funny, just kind of like you said, everyone there is competing, you're competing against the next person, but then at the end of the day, it's like, if this guy's never done call for fire, like, I'm gonna help him out,
right.
I'm gonna give him the tools to be able to complete that task.
Yeah.
That's kind of on him when he gets in there to be able to retain it and do it. But, we were all helping one another out. And
that's cool.
Kind of, hey, like,
yeah.
don't think about it too much. Just, this, and this, and go on with it. So that was, some of the younger soldiers that haven't done it before, that was just one thing that I think as an NCO and the other NCOs, we kind of tried to stress to them. It's like, hey, man, like, one event at a time. When it's over, it's over. Go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Like,
that's cool to hear too, though. I mean, you're still mentoring as you're competing, as well as as an E6 or those buck sergeants and stuff like that. So, and helping them out to an extent, but showing them kind of it is what it is.
Yep.
You got to show up, you got to perform, and then we'll just kind of go from there. Yep. But that's kind of cool to hear. And this time we had one female competitor.
Correct.
So that was kind of crazy, right? I mean, I get it. I mean, hey, we're all competing, right?
Absolutely.
But I mean, she held in there, held her own too as well, and killed it. I mean, there was things I was like, dang, man, she's getting after it. And you kind of see those peaks and those lows throughout the competition once you go those, because y'all are going all day. And, I would see it on different faces and stuff, but that mentality is a good way to put it. You got your one shot, do it, and it is what it is at the end of it. And there were several. It's like, man, I should have done this a little different, maybe a little better. And there were some that was like, man, I didn't know I was going to do this great on this part of it. So it's a very kind of, they're riding a roller coaster. That it seemed like those whole 3 days of just competing. Right. So what was one of your favorite events? Is there one in particular that you remember that you like doing? Like you even brought up, there's an appearance board, right? Yeah. So I mean, there's different things you're doing throughout the event. So
I would say land nav. Honestly, it's like, hey, I was kind of talking to Colonel Simpson about this, and was like, hey, sir, I know you're in charge of this place out here, but like, you need to do a damn controlled burn on this, on this training area. It's like, so we last year when we did land nav, we did it was all at night. Start at night.
Yeah, got you.
Went through and it was, I came out of there and had, ripped my pants, and it was, it was just thick,
Yeah,
and, so I think, I got all 5 points, last year, and I think me and Musgrove, he was our soldier from the Infantry Battalion. He actually won Soldier of the Year last year.
Gotcha.
And I came back, had like 8 minutes to go, and Sergeant Major Lewis was like standing in the road, and he was like, "Dude, what are you doing? And like, where have you been?" And he's like, "Everybody else is on the bus." And I was like, I don't know, Sergeant Major. Like, I just, I found my points. It's thick in there.
Yeah.
And so then Musgrove, he ended up finishing, like minute or two right there behind me, and he came running up the road, and we get on the bus, and like, there was maybe one or two other soldiers that had found a couple points, but no one had found 5, and they're like, "Dude, that's thick." Like, we just turned around, came back.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, but we did it in the day this time, so it was kind of fairly to use the roads and
Right.
and have some attack points and get in there to your points, and it was a lot
Yeah.
a lot easier in the daytime than night. You're just
Right.
just
Different
kinda,
ball game.
just kind of going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, going out to those courses, like you said, I mean, you might have done it the year before, but it gets different. And it
Correct.
could be just what the foliage looks like,
Yep.
what the lane looks like.
Yep.
So you kind of know what to expect, but don't know what to expect
Yep.
once you get out there. It's like you said,
Yep.
you might be marking to the first point, like, dang man, what is
Yep.
going on? Yeah,
And it, like I said, it's just thick, and it's especially this time of year,
Yeah.
those briars and stuff are
Right.
it's
yeah.
but I would say that land nav is probably my best,
Yeah.
my favorite event.
Favorite one to do.
Yeah.
One thing that I got to enjoy, that I was like, especially those highs and lows, was that the O course, the obstacle
Yep.
course, and you get down there, and and a lot of you obviously great shape, but it's just like the challenges of the climbs.
Oh, yeah.
And the one thing, I don't even know what it is, the in and outs or whatever it is, the weave
weaver.
or the
Yeah,
weaver. There we
yeah.
go. Yeah, watching, because I was like, would that be me at this point? Them trying to figure out the
Yeah.
way to do it. Like,
Yeah.
it ain't necessarily they couldn't do it. It's just like they get started and be like, hold on, I gotta get over this one, go under this one,
Yeah.
knocking their noggins on the wood. Like, I was cracking up. But I mean, it was one of the last obstacles too. Drained,
Yep.
and they're just hanging on for dear life. Just like, get through it, get
Yep.
through it. So that one to me was fun to watch, but it was awesome to see you guys performing out there doing that. I mean, you're pushing yourselves. You're coming from different events, and then you get down there for that, and it's like, still going, here we go. So you take off on it, but
Yep.
yeah,
It's the O course, it's a fun event, not necessarily for a short guy, but
right.
what's it called, where you're going over the logs, like
Oh, my gosh.
I can't think
With
of
your
it.
hands over your head.
Yeah. And my grader, like, I was literally having to like jump
Oh
and
my
like
gosh,
get
I've
over
seen so
it,
many people eat it on that part.
and he actually sent me back around the one of the obstacles and was like, "Hey, like, you got to go back." And I guess my hands came apart. You got to have them interlocked, And I was like, "Dude, like, I can't. I have to jump to get
Right.
over that."
So what people don't know, the event it's basically these big logs, and they make kind of like a little, kind of like a rail, but it's a log. What is it? 3 feet off the ground, probably good.
Yep.
3 foot off the ground. Hands intertwined behind the head, and you're having to step over them somewhat.
Yep.
But if you're short,
Yeah, it's hard.
I've seen so many people was trying to jump,
Yeah.
and they would hit the log and just
Yep.
face plant. They
Yep.
would commit, but it was like, get back up and do it again. So, I mean, I didn't even think about that. That's probably one of the hardest ones I saw, depending on your stature.
Right.
I mean, it was
Yep.
definitely depending on your stature,
Yep.
whether you were smoked or not. But tall guys that was going through it, legs were going
Yep.
over. I was like, okay. Shorter people, no, it was eating them alive. Yeah. But I forgot about that one. That one was, but just the different obstacles. Climbing the rope, the climbing the ladders, the over the logs, weaving in and out. It was entertaining to watch, but I mean, it was still motivating though, watching the soldiers go through it and pushing themselves and stuff.
Right.
And by the time they're done, they're gassed. They're all in that little holding area. But I had a guy that I kind of mentored as he was coming up before I moved up here for this position, and he was on the weaver, and he was one. He knocked the hell out of his head. He was doing something, and I was like, "Hey man, you good?" But he kept going.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the competition will do it to you. You want to finish, you want to do good. So it was good to see him. I mean, he was still pushing.
Yep.
So, but so the O course. But some of the other things that I thought was interesting, never thought of, is even for like the PAO being down there. They did an
Right.
interview, right?
Yep.
They did an interview. You did that board. You did an appearance board in front of some of the sergeant majors,
Yep.
and they're grading you. So it's like, you think going into these competitions, it's shooting, you're moving around, you're rucking, but there's things like that you got to be prepared for as well. Was there anything that you had to prepare on to do those, or have those always kind of been really not the biggest thing as far as I just study and go forward? Or
yeah, I just studied. I kind of went back to some of the questions they asked year before, and then some of the boards they've had at the battalion, or then like AGR boards, some of those questions.
Right.
Kind of studied, made a little study guide, and went from there.
And I think that's the mixes that kind of, as we was talking about with the PT score,
Yep.
to kind of level the field. I mean, you might show up and you might be able to run a 2 mile in 11 minutes,
Yep.
but then you get in front of a board, it's a different ball game sometimes.
Right.
You're sitting there and they're asking you questions and they're expecting answers, and
Yep.
you're racking through that brain of what's going on, and you've been going at it all day, and then so those events, you see people like, hey, I'm physically fit.
Yep.
I need to work on shooting a little better, or I can shoot really good, but I can't interview worth a damn. And it's
Right.
like you just see it constantly throughout the 3 days of
Yep.
the different things, like just stressing the soldier out as they go. So, but a lot of times I feel like everybody wants to do the physical part, but it's those little things. Sometimes they forget about those boards and those questions and just that knowledge base of military stuff. So, but
yeah, the board. I think last year I kind of got a little nervous on it, but this year I felt a lot more comfortable on
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Did you know going into the end? So the end was, I think this year, ended on a ruck march,
Ruck,
right? It was the
yeah,
ruck
so
was one of the
6
last
mile
events. So it
ruck,
was that morning, and then did you kind of have an idea where you were falling into place at that point? Like, were you pretty confident, or
honestly, no. Just kind of throughout the weekend, I kind of thought like there were 3 or 4 of us that were pretty close. Really didn't know like what their scores were or anything.
Right.
There was another NCO. I think he had I didn't know what he had on the AFT as far as a score.
because they're not sharing that information,
right,
right?
they're not-
Nobody's knowing
yeah.
what you scored or anything.
And
so.
you're really not, you're really not talking about it. Honestly, the only event I think we talked about was the call for fire, and then like land nav.
Right.
Hey, I got X amount of points on call for fire, and I got 4 out of 4 on land nav or
Right.
whatever. But the AFT, like I was, no one was asking like, hey, what'd you get on deadlift, or what'd you, it was just like you would see them do those events and was like, hey man, that guy, he did well on that event. But like, one of the NCOs, I think he ran like an 11-13 2-mile, and I was like, well, shit, like he's beat me on this event, you know, and but I think at the end of the day, my score was higher,
right.
but he crushed that. That was kind of in my head all weekend of, hey, he beat me on that event. I didn't know, and then I knew he did well on the O course.
Very cardio free.
Yeah. And then he ended up with like a 40-some minute, like 42-minute 6-mile ruck or something, And me and him, we took off out of the gate, and I looked at my watch, and we were running like an 8:40 pace for like the first mile and a half. And I looked,
This is rucking.
Yeah, and my heart rate was like 197, and I was like, dude, like I gotta.
This is insane.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta slow down. And I was like, hey man, you can have this, and I just kind of kicked it back and was like, all right,
But still in your mind, you had a goal though. I have to hit this time,
And I was, my goal was just, hey, 60 minutes or under like that. And,
right.
So just kind of was like, all right, I can't let another NCO pass me. Got to, stay behind him, and hopefully I, did well enough in the other events that it got me through. But, I think everyone there, showed a great effort. And at the end of the day, last year I competed, and trying to think of the NCO that won it last year. Can't think of his name, but solid guy like
Barrett Weber. That was him, right? Yep. Steps on Barrett Weber.
And he just a great guy, and it was kind of the same thing. Like there were a few of us that did well at a lot of the events, but he stayed consistent all weekend long.
Yeah.
And then he ended up winning, and I got second, and then just kind of those guys that are there, those NCOs, it's like, hey, I want to win, and I'm gonna go as hard as I can, but
right.
If I come up short, then whatever, these dudes they're out here giving their best, like so, but yeah, like it I think even on the soldier side, it was pretty close all weekend long. You know, for NCOs and for the soldier side.
And that's kind of the things we hear. Which I mean, I wasn't the tabulators, what we were calling the score people, but previous years, I mean, some of those things were decided by a point.
Right.
You know, it was like 1 point, or there had to be some kind of tiebreaker. So sometimes it comes down to the wire.
And I think last year, me and Sergeant Weber, I think there was a tiebreaker. Don't know what the tiebreaker was, but I just that's kind of like what was told to me. And you know, but this year, just kind of coming into it, I was just like, hey, like I'm go in to try to win, and if I don't, then it is what it
best
is.
effort.
You know? Yeah, and
so,
I think it's fun competing. You know, getting out there, and it's like gives me something to train for.
Right.
And then also, I guess it shows other soldiers, you know, in your unit, like, hey, man, like this guy, you know, he's getting out,
Absolutely.
getting after it, like, just holding that standard.
Yes.
And that's just something that I've been fortunate enough to have, very good NCOs that are either friends or have had my back, throughout my career. And one guy that I look up to is Sergeant Major Will Long. He's retired now. He was the Sergeant Major of Infantry Battalion for a little bit, and he just always led from the front, set the example.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one thing. It's like he's always stressed that, like, hey, if you're not willing to do it yourself, you can't expect someone else to do it.
Right.
I don't care what it is.
Yes.
So.
And I don't care what anybody says. That's the winning attitude right there, especially being a leader. Yeah. When you hear it from the NCO Corps, it's like, I'm not going to expect you to do something that I'm not going to do.
Yep.
And I think it's always very important,
Yep.
those NCOs to be out there with them. You've got to do the training. You've got to do the PT test. You got to do everything.
Correct.
You got to show them that you're holding the standard as well, or trying to surpass it. Yep. And for some of us, I'm competing with you too. I ain't going to let you beat me. I'm the old man, but I'm going to give you my fight, right? And I think that's what's respected, and it really shows up, and that leadership pays off that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what they kind of joke with me in the scouts there. It's like, like your grandpa, man, but it's like, hey, dude, like, this past XCTC, I think in like 3 days we moved like 44 miles or something like that,
shit.
in 3 nights, and it was pretty much moving all night long. And there were times that I got frustrated and was like, had some guys, kind of slowing up,
Right.
falling back, and it's like, dude, like, pick it up, let's go.
Grandpa's keeping up now.
Like you're 20 years old,
Exactly.
man. And so I think that that's kind of what keeps me after it. Just kind of trying to keep up with the young guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it worked.
Yeah.
So your name gets called at the end, right?
Yes.
You get the NCO Best Warrior, and you're moving on to regionals.
Correct.
And that's coming up soon.
Yep.
End of April. I'm not going to say the dates. Sergeant Major's done changed the date times, but so you're like a week or two out now.
Right.
Have you been doing anything to prepare for this one? Like.
Yeah. So they kind of pushed out the MOI and was basically like, hey, they didn't tell us necessarily all the events, but gave us a kind of an idea of some of the events. And,
right.
And a lot of them are kind of like the ones we did at the state level, and. But the last event at the regionals will be the Norwegian Ruck. So just kind of, it's 18.6 miles. I think it's only like a 25-pound ruck. But,
right.
Quick
time though.
Yeah, you're
quick time.
You're on your feet for that amount of time. It doesn't matter if you got a ruck on or not. Like
right.
That's a pretty good amount of distance. So I've just kind of been putting a little bit more time on my feet with the ruck on, or
green socks.
Green socks, and so I just just. Where we're going into the state, I would ruck maybe once a week.
Right.
Now I've kind of been adding 1 or 2 other days to that, and some longer rucks. And but yeah, that's looking forward to it. Hopefully some good weather where we're going.
Right.
And,
Butner, North Carolina. Camp Butner.
Camp Butner.
Am I saying it right? All right. She had wrote that down. So
Stem, North Carolina.
Okay.
I think
that's
right
Region 3 that you're competing in.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
okay.
So the Soldier of the Year, I think he's going out there as well.
Right.
So hopefully, kind of bring something back for Kentucky.
You got this, baby. I'm behind you, Sergeant Moody.
I appreciate it. So.
But excited though.
Yeah.
Still excited about it.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. Good
Yeah.
experience, and then just it's just like going to a military school. You go there, you might not know somebody, and you. At the end of the week, it's like, hey, man, like everybody, just like you said at the barracks, in a 3-day event, it's like you come in there day 2 and everybody's, buddies and, fist bumping and helping each other out, know, and so, just kind of looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
And,
well, I mean, for sure, for the state of Kentucky, man, good luck with this.
I appreciate it.
We'll be rooting for you. I know you can do it. I know it'll be stressful, but
It'll be a good
kill
time.
it. You look like you're going to kill
worth
it. That's a great attitude to have. So, but I mean, while we're sitting here, I mean, for the soldiers that don't know, I mean, Sergeant Moody, competing, but talking about all the other competitors. If you don't know Best Warrior, get with your readiness NCO or your unit, and make sure, I mean, you're pushing yourself, because I challenge the NCOs. You have those soldiers that can compete, so make sure you're, in line with them throughout the year, and say, hey, man, this competition's coming up. I would like for you to do it. And to me, that's just, I mean, it's an honor to do it. It's a morale boost for yourself when somebody picks you, like, hey, you're the guy or girl that we want to compete in this, and we want you to do this. So I want to put that little plug in. That way, soldiers know they're listening or watching that. Hey, this is an every year thing. We got another one coming up, for the Best Warrior for 2027. So we'll have another competition,
Right.
and it's a good way to push yourself, learn different tactics, and learn stuff that you might need to work on.
Right.
Everything you're thrown into the fire. Yep. So
that's I mean, being that NCO, you got soldiers that do want to go. It's like they're not going to throw anything just off the wall at you. It's something that at a at 10 level task, or your Army Warrior task, EIB, right. Like you're knocking out some sort of task within those the realm of those things, and it's something that every NCO should be able to teach their soldiers.
Right.
Like, hey, this is how you read a map. This is how you zero your M4.
Right.
That was actually like one of the events. I think it was like a zero your M4, and maybe they graded it off of like the person that used the least amount of rounds to be able to zero.
Because it was iron sights.
Right.
The CCO,
iron sights.
it was
yep.
iron sights on an M4.
And then you might even get soldiers that have never fired M4 using iron sights.
Right. Right.
So, but yeah, the call for fire, like, just if you do have soldiers that are that want to go to that do Best Warrior next year, then I kind of encourage you as an NCO to teach them those tasks, spin them up on those, like to prepare them. I feel like a lot more soldiers would be more willing to try that if they were prepared like
right.
that. Some might get nervous, but like we said earlier, it's like, hey, man, like, do what you can do, go in there and knock it out, and it is what it is.
It is what it is.
They're not going to take your birthday.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, before we close this out, we always kind of do a gift for having the Spotlight Soldier. We've kind of settled on one, I think. So, but so you'll always remember. I know I'm talking into my crotch now, but we got you your own G3 podcast Fixed Bayonets cup.
I like it.
For you're probably gonna put creatine and protein powder and shit like that in there. But for your coffee, for your water, or whatever, and it can sit on your desk, and you'll remember always coming on this episode.
Well, I appreciate it.
And we'll be famous one day.
That's
the good thing about it.
Might run a podcast together.
No, man, Sergeant Moody, I appreciate you. Like I said, you're gonna do great at regionals. We'll be rooting for you. But other than that, hey, we hope you're doing well. We hope you're checking on your battle buddies, and enjoy life. Be healthy. Stay lethal. It's pretty catchy, right?
That's right.
G3 podcast out.
Thank you for joining us on the Kentucky National Guard G3 podcast, where we bring you the voices and stories behind the mission. Stay connected, stay ready, and we'll see you on the next episode.